good evening, everyone. Welcome to Design Dialogues, where we'll discuss the influence of AI in UX designs, the most trending topic in the design field nowadays. And we are thrilled to have an expert in the field of UX and AI joining us. Please welcome Prithiv Kumar, Senior UX Designer at NISA and founder of Cyanic. So thank you so much for being here, Prithiv. We are happy to have you on the podcast today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Sprit and team. Yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So we'll start with a very fun question this time. So Prithiv, imagine that AI were a co-designer on your team. So how would you describe that AI as a co-designer? The perfectionist or the procrastinator or the over-enthusiastic intern throwing wild ideas?
So yeah, yeah, as a co-designer would likely be a combination of all the three, because but it would have its unique twist. To start with, let's take in perfectionist, right? So AI excels in a vast amount of data and also identifying patterns that are quite huge for humans, or they would miss. So this would lead to the precision and attention to detail that surpasses human capabilities. So that's what I say. They are kind of perfectionist. And moving on to the another one, fun part, the procrastinator. So AI can actually process information quickly. I mean, like really fast. So the tricky part lies in the way how the quality of data that has been fed. So that's the so if the data is incomplete and inaccurate, AI might struggle to generate meaningful insights, and it would lead to a greater delay. And also, if not prompted properly, it might even hallucinate information, because right now the people experts are trying to reduce it in the back end of the how each and every release. But yes, there are the way we fed information is what it's gonna give it to us. And finally, let's say like over enthusiastic intern, right? So of course it can create a wide range of creative ideas based on the data that it's been trained on. So this is a very maybe good highlighted what it has been trained on. So however, these ideas might not always be practical or align with project scope, right? So it would end up that the human, let's say, like human intervention is needed to evaluate and refine these ideas. So treating it as more like an intern would be the best way to get the most out of it. So I would say these three are the combination that we have to navigate to get the best out of it. So yeah, I think that's my take.
Okay, and what if, Rohit, we have one AI as a co-designer? What would you describe him as?
I like that Prathiv kind of went diplomatic a little bit and all three. What I would say is definitely the over enthusiastic intern, but somebody, and I think probably it gets covered in the over enthusiastic thing. But look, the thing is, uh, today if you look at a lot of these generative AI tools that are out there, depending on what that tool is. And depending on what your prompt is, the tool is going to give you an answer. Whether that answer is accurate, not accurate, how far off, doesn't matter. It is going to give you an answer. So it is definitely over enthusiastic. But depending on the tool, sometimes it can also not respond. And I don't know if not responding has to do with the capability of the tool itself. It could very well be how they have configured the backend APIs and stuff like that, right? So it may be more of a technical thing than the capability of the AI itself. But the way I look at it is that, look, it is definitely super fast. So whenever it will work, it will give you a response which is pretty fast. Now the only challenge is that in all of these things, when you are trying to use AI, and we'll not make this podcast a AI podcast, but if you think about UI UX, right? What that means is that you have to be very clear about the context. What is it that you are trying to design for? And if you are not very clear, the sometimes the way humans work is that we are not very articulate about what we want because everything is in our head. And as part of the process, we will keep doing that, right? Because it's just us working on it. So while there is this feedback loop, but the feedback loop is not explicit. But whenever you are interacting with somebody, whether it is AI or with somebody else, even a human, you have to be explicit about what you want, right? So provide the right context, provide the feedback, and that has to be explicit. You can't expect people to read your mind. So I think that is where the whole prompting and re-prompting and continuous refining comes into play.
So right, Rohit, as you said, prompt engineering is something that we'll be speaking more about on today's podcast. But moving on to our main discussion, that we see that AI is everywhere, and it is now, if we talk about the design field, it is helping us create images, videos, basis the prompts that we provide. The more accurate the prompts are, the more beautiful images or the accurate results that we are going to get from the AI. Be it selecting the right color palette or interaction elements, even the websites are getting created with the help of AI and every sort of automation. So not only in design, it is making waves across various industries. But if we talk about UX design field, Prithiv, what's the most exciting change you have seen that AI has brought in this UX design recently?
So I would say like UX is being an interdisciplinary platform and a domain. So it has, I would say, like what are the tools that get introduced? Let it be image generation or generative image, text to image, or video, text to video, or even let's say tools like UI's art, which comes up with the layout once you put in the details into it. Or even there are other UIs, even Figma UI right now they have released, made it public. I got an update in the beta version. So all these are right, like are actually making a progress in the way it works, but only people who knows how to use it. So I would say, like, these tools can create unique and visually appealing design based on, like Rohit shared in the last question, like text prompts significantly speeden up the whole design process, which allow us to rapidly iterate. So without any doubt, let's say, like, if I have an idea and let's say, like, oh, starting something with the clean slate, empty canvas is a nightmare for any designer because you just have to get things started. So for that, if you have a gist about what you're going to do, you can get into it and have something on the board, okay, which could trigger your creative response. So sharing something from, I mean, starting something from scratch is way too different from you already have something, you just have to tweak it a bit to make it your own. Okay. And also this is more into the UI aspect, but on the UX aspect, it's a huge development. Let's say like in a UX, like we generally, most of the people talk about UI aspect, but UX is what UX is considered more on the research part, where they get to find, interview people, get that insight and everything. So for, let's say, like, let's take this simple scenario. Let's say we interview around like 5 people and we also go for a survey to understand a perspective to verify our findings. So we have tons of data right now. Let's say like data we just collected for 2-3 months. So right now, one UX engineer, one UX designer, analyst, data analyst, and researcher has to sit and consolidate these things, which is going to take weeks. If these things have been fed into, let's say, like generative AI, like ChatGPT or Gemini or even Claude, right? So these things will, with the right prompt, provided they give a really, really descriptive of what it is and how it is and fed it up appropriate information, the whole months of work could turn into hours of work. So that's the whole aspect. But the whole twist here is that if people aren't aware of the whole information, what they're feeding it into the AI, there are a lot of chances it could go completely wrong. Because it's, I would say, like, it's not there like how they show in the movies, which is like complete intelligence. It is on its own and everything. It's not there yet, not commercialized it yet on that perspective or on that level of intellect. So we are still on one task. Let's say, like I give you a task, it does it and give it back. That's the whole quality right now we have achieved. So with that in mind, we should be really clever enough to give it the right appropriate information and be even more, let's say, like even more clear with information. Whatever we get, read it thoroughly. Because I've seen quite a lot of people not doing the research, just going and giving the prompt whatever they feel like very let's say like higher level prompt. It gives details. The first whatever I'm going to put into AI is going to give me very generalistic information, very general. It's not going to be very specific. So in design, the more specific it is, better for us to like comprehend and find the solution for. So these people just copy it without even reading and put it in their portfolio. I've seen a lot. So that is a scary thing. But if a person who's really well versed in the way of using AI can turn a months of work into hours of or even minutes, if he already has everything in place, the prompts and everything in place, just have to change few things and have to feed it. And then it becomes its own database. I could go there if I missed out something, I could question it, I could get it back. Right. And even recently, the Google, I think, like came to limelight, the Notebook LLM, which was released by Google. It is more like you can upload your PDF, upload your findings, upload everything, and it creates your own little podcast for you to listen. And also, it gives you all the information. It's just going to be your own AI, and they have made sure your privacy is the predominant element over there. And it's really, I would say, uh, let's say like a really boon for UX designers who does intensive research like me. So on the other part of it, right, like accessibility or even efficiency and creativity, these aspects, right, these tools democratize design, so making it easier for people without formal design training to create high quality visuals. But here the twist lies in how am I evaluating, because the AI is not going to understand the empathy behind it. AI is not going to understand what these people are going to feel. It's going to only understand the way whatever I'm going to ask it to do. It's going to be literally like how it is in a Robo movie, right? You just say put the TV, you just put the TV down. So it's going to be like that, very direct. Even though it has mind of its own, it's not there, right? And also in the efficiency part, in a matter of seconds, if I'm able to give it the exact prompt I need, it could generate multiple design options that could help me to look into creative aspect, right? And on the creative aspect of it, like, by combining the AI generated elements with the human intuition and creativity, so we can explore, the designers can explore new and innovative design directions. So this is the whole spectrum of it. Any day, the AI has to be treated like a co-pilot. It's not the main person in it. It's a co-pilot that is going to help us do things in a very quick manner, provided we know how to handle it. It's more like a sword, right? So whoever wields it holds the power to, like, be in the war or be in the garden. How you're going to use it matters. So that's how it is.
Okay, so Prateek, you talked about how AI is helping designers to generate data for the user research. So yes, AI in action feels a lot like a practical magic, like from generating user personas based on a real-time data to predicting user behavior. Like AI is everywhere. So let's dive deeper into some real-world examples. And I've been really impressed by how Spotify like uses AI to analyze listening patterns and curate playlists that feel almost a tailor-made. So, could you share a specific example from Nissan or Scenic where AI dramatically improved the design process or any product experience?
Yeah, sure. As in with huge corporates, they have their own limitations, right? Because even though they have the huge fundings in place, coming up with AI or going for it is going to be a huge call, because they're gonna establish on the enterprise level, and that can be a data breach as well. Because even when the ChatGPT, I think like 3.5 was released, there was a huge I think like Toyota or some brand, like, files were, uploaded to it and they were using it and it was released to the public. So because of that enterprise level product, they actually prefer developing their own AIs. So that is different. But with the Cianic, like we do have design services, personal branding, and we do have AI courses for designs as well, right? So for these services, we do assist and use AI to make our work simpler and also give a even more better perspective for us so that we could have our more let's say like vivid view of our solution. Because like rather than just like my team around like 10 people thinking about it, designers thinking about it, let's include like 1,000 other eyes or like brains for that, right? Different perspective. That's going to make it even more simpler. And let's say like using Adobe, right? Right now, the recent update was crazy with Adobe Max, the AIs they have come up with, right? So that's let's say like basic ones we use on day-to-day lives are going to be removing background or changing colors and enhancing images from a low res to a high res, right? Which is going to save tons of time. And also like the at times we get images from our clients on a very low res and we have to go with like let's say like earlier it used to be like a complete Photoshop work where we have to sit in for hours and make it even a high res. Right now, just a few clicks, or even let's say like a Starbucks coffee price is what it's going to cost me, like editing 50 images in a single go. That's how it is. So and also let's say like right now with the use of AI, maintaining consistent design system has become easier. So as being a product designer, let's say like a brand wants to construct construct a design system with a quick, let's say they don't have time, they just want to create in a day or two. So just by defining few parameters, I could create a whole design system in a click, just a click away. Okay, plugins, AI plugins are there, which could completely align the whole design to the brand's identity. So that's how it is. And also right now, the accessibility being a huge part at the moment, AIs are able to predict and give us a grade for our designs as well. Let's say like contrast checker, or let's say like, how the device, multiple device, how it's read and screen readers, does it capture or not? So these things we used to do it manually earlier. So right now at the moment, it is done in a click away and it gives an even more clear report with certification, what it needs to be done for this certification, what is the grade level, is it going to be AA or AAA? So it on the contrast level, it's giving us a complete picture of it, right? And when it comes to the personal branding, so content creation is like it's become a cakewalk at the moment. If you're clear with what you need and if you have a really good direction, AI can make it 10 times or like 1,000 times better in the way how it could present the content that we're going to put into. And let's say like when we do let's say complete rebranding into LinkedIn and say and like making them completely visible for their clients or the personal branding the way they want to get the jobs, right? We do that. So over there, a tailor made, let's say like analysis can be made, and the way that we going to project their profile could elevate them. And it's more of a pull strategy. It happens, people who they want will reach out to them, let it be recruiters, let it be clients, people will reach out to them. So and also like it helps them to create an identity around it. So let alone the followers. Followers comes from the quality content. The quality content gets better with AI if it's directed with it. So and also a personal touch. The personal touch is what the twist is going to happen. How great it's going to be.
I think the key takeaways are two from what you just mentioned so far. One is that magic doesn't have to be big. Small things that are part of your workflow that you may not even realize until you get to that job and you are stuck and spending a lot of time. Small things like those are also magical. The magic doesn't have to be great, right? So like the background remover thing, right? It's huge. I do remember using a few of these background remover tools for our visa photos. Never really worked, by the way. But maybe that's the odd use case. But for a wide variety of applications, background remover, minor thing, but a huge thing because it eats away a lot of your time, right? So one is that the magic can be found in small things, but the other thing is also that whenever we are talking about any discipline, here we are talking about UI, UX, and then we are talking about the role of AI in it. But whatever you mentioned, right? Those are use cases. And whenever people are listening to these sort of discussions, I think people need to, one, keep an open mind, trying to understand that, yep, whatever they may have in their mind, the notion of UI, UX, yes, that notion is true, but that's just the mechanics of it. At the end of the day, whether we are designers, we are developers, we are testers, whoever we are there to serve the customers with a need that they may have. And focusing on those individual use cases is very important. And the use cases are all around, depending on what sort of job you are doing, right? So in case of Sainik, you mentioned a few things that are part of your workflow, right? So I think like the key message really is uh, magic can be found in small things. You don't have to strive for big things, and always focus on identifying use cases. And if you keep focusing on those use cases and try and figure out how you can make those use cases better, that would be good.
Yeah, sure. I totally agree with that, Rohit. That was a well put, I would say. So on that part, let's say like recently the Figma update came up, right? Let's say like as a designer, without the UX writer in place, right, we do have difficulties in completing the design copy with it. Let's say like replicating it with different content. So right now, I think like we do have it in a beta Figma version, the AI, Figma AI, we just could click onto it and it could generate the whole content of the page in a click away. So which is going to take like, let's say like, 30 minutes or 35 minutes, or even like getting the content from UX writer, or even making a prototype with a single click in regards to the UI aspect has become really simple. And I would say like it has made a great leap. And the most important part as being a designer is that the file naming part, or the way you name your layers. So, cause like that will be like, when you get a file from a different designer, there might be layers with frame 42765. So a random name, we don't know what it is, right? So, but right now Figma has made it really simple. Click on the layers, just name them, like, go to the AI and, it just renames them without any fuss. So that's a game changer. I think like anything we do right now, which is a rudimentary or it's going to take longer time, we do have a AI for that. So most of it are free for use for one time, or like, they do have the token count. But like as if we find it really good, and it's not expensive at the moment. People, the usage of AI is really cheap right now, and it's a boon to us. It's making our workflow really simple, I would say. So yeah, that's a good take, Rohit. Thank you for that.
Well,
Awesome.
yes. Well, yes, I'm sure AI is truly proving helpful. We do have, for example, we have AI chatbots, we have movie recommendations on Netflix and Prime, voice commands, right? So definitely AI is integrated in all of these apps. And I would wanted to understand from you, Prithi, what have you seen that has been the biggest challenge that you have faced when you try to integrate AI into any of the UX workflows? Because what I feel is that, especially if I talk about the chatbots, it lacks that human touch, that empathy. Because I know AI can predict the behavior, but it lacks that emotional nuance. So, what challenge have you come across? And if you would like to share more about that.
So yeah, for sure, I will share. So the thing about AI is that it is too good, but it's very repetitive at the moment. It can't generate new designs, or it can't do any very creative new stuff out of the blue. So it is more of the data it has been fed, or the data that it could find on the internet, and it could just give. So here the challenge is that how human we are, how much human we are, or how creatively human we are. That is the most challenging part when it comes to it. Because like if you put something onto the internet, it has its own library. It's just going to search it and gives us the best output it could based on the input that we share. So, but it's going to replicate some design out there in the world, someone who already did it. So the way how we going to improvise it matters, and moreover, like how uh, we gonna be connected on the empathy aspect matters a lot, because AIs aren't gonna be empathetic any sooner. Okay, so right now, yes, it is very efficient in the way if you know how to use it, but on the empathetic part, the human intervention is very needed, where we connect with a human to human, the way we converse during the interviews, and we'll get the details. Yes, almost like more than 70 to 80% informations aren't verbal. It's gonna be on non-verbal form, body language, or the way they're gonna react to it, questions, how emotional they're gonna. So that can only be maybe like connected and received by human touch and the clear data that we could get. So on the other hand, AI, let's say like you're gonna put it in autoplay pilot and gonna like let it do its work. Most of the time, it's aligning with the business views and identities, because it's gonna only understand what the vision, mission, or direction I gave it to understand. But there would be more to it, the way it's gonna stand or the brand is gonna stand, which a human would understand on a psychology level in the way it is. But it is a very textual form for the AI. So they are incredibly creative. So, but it also produces output that are unexpected or even inappropriate if not carefully guided. This happens a lot, even with the very high, let's say, like, right now we do have very high configured AIs. Even those things, at times, if not carefully handled in the way it should, there are chances that it could go wrong. Okay, so the challenge right now for the designers is that they have to be really vigilant in the way they review and edit AI generated content to ensure it is consistent with the project goals and the message that the brand is trying to convey. Because the AI is going to have it in the own way of presenting it. Of course, we can't point at the AI and say like it did wrong, I didn't do it. That's going to be really absurd. So going forward, I think that's going to be a part. People are going to say that, but still, like the human intervention in the way it is really necessary, and the designer has to understand everything about what he's going to do, and then get into the AI part of making his or her work simpler, or it's going to be a chaos because he or she is going to give the data that whatever they feel is right, and AI is going to give its own perspective. The output is going to be on a very different direction. So it's all about how we train the AI, how we educate ourselves in the way of using an AI, how we give it input to it. So I would say it is very easy to lose a human creativity and intuition if we aren't vigilant using AI. Right? But of course, hands down, it's the powerful tool, and it's a huge complement to the human design skills rather than a replacement, I would say. So it's all about how we make uh, make a balance between the human and the AI contribution, so that like designers can be really innovative and give a meaningful experience, because experience is the part that we feel. So AI cannot give that at the point where we are right now. So being vigilant and clear about the limitations of AI and how we're going to utilize the AI, the part that they understand is going to be the challenge right now at the moment. Personally, the way I started looking into it was harder. But as and when I started from understanding from the basic, let's say like how the neural network works, how the machine language works, how the AI, generative AI really works. If I give it information A, it's going to only consider information A. I give it information A, B, C, it's going to consider A, B, and C and give me an output. So the way I feed information, understanding these aspects, going through multiple, let's say like YouTube videos or courses, gave me a complete idea about how to utilize any AI. So let alone say like the really powerful AI, ChatGPTs or Claude or Gemini. So everything almost work with the same skeleton, syntax to be precise. Right, the way you give information and make sure you prompt it well, and also give it a freedom to ask you enough questions to understand what you're trying to say, so that it got everything before it answers, and then it gives you an output.
Yes, and I think that it's not just about the data. It's also
Mhm.
about how we as designers handle user trust. Because in 2024, people are more aware of how their data is being used. Because designers need to be transparent, especially when AI is involved in the user's experience too.
But still, let me give you a scenario. Like you are working for an organization and you do have an NDA with the client. So then we are using AI tool. So of course, like we'll be using AI tools to make our work simpler, or even let's say like giving another suggestion of did we take the right path. So that is more like a gray area to navigate.
First, it all depends on what the context of your project is. So if say it's a hobby project and you don't necessarily care about exposing that data to these AI systems, whether you are using a free plan or a paid plan, then the context is different. But if say you are working for a client where there are stringent expectations of data sharing, then it is no different than how you would engage anybody else, whether it is AI or a human. You have to use the same level of commitment to whatever the contractual obligation is. Now, if I were to go and use AI, and I do know that for that AI to work, I will have to share information that may be considered proprietary or not worth sharing with AI. And if there is a reason for me to use AI for any of the use cases, I would go back to the client and ask their explicit permission before doing that. So that's basically the correct way of doing it, right? An alternative way of doing it is that kind of how people do these things whenever it comes to data protection, data privacy, whatever, right? You basically tokenize data, you try to mask the data, whatever, right? So I would use a similar approach where what I would do is I would kind of take that use case without getting specific about the actual details of it, the actual data of it, but try to come up with something which is an approximation of what I'm trying to do, and then feed that approximation to see what I can get, and then use that as a reference point to build on top of it.
Ethical approach is still, I feel it's still a gray area when it comes to AI. Let it be our own local mission-based AI, let's say like using Llama, which is going to be, we can locally host it and run it, or even using a paid service on any AI platform. Still, these things are a bit, let's say, like scary to put it up, even though you are having, let's say, paid plan with AI. These things are still something we have to look into. But of course, like masking things up and rewriting them, or even looking into a different perspective of how we could address it, yes, that would be the right direction to take it, or getting the consent from the client. But I would say like most of the client are still on the technology aspect, who are working on technology aspect, are still I would say little scared about AI, because they might have really intellectual property in hand that they could release, which could be a groundbreaking thing globally. But still, on the AI part, if any teammates use it, it could become a huge loss for the brand as well. So
correct. Can I use an AI tool for my project or not? The way I would look at it, and not only that question, honestly speaking, any question, you could always start from a very simple premise. What is the basis of trust? The basis of trust is that you are being transparent with each other, sharing all the knowable with the other person, right? Something that is unknown to you, sure, there may have been something that was not known to you, so you didn't share. But whatever was known at a given point in time, you shared it with the other person and you got explicit consent from the other person. I would start from that basis. So, because that's the basis of trust. If you have done that and you have either an explicit consent that, yep, I am aware of what you are trying to do, and you are only going to go till that length, and I agree and I approve, then that's it, right? You shouldn't do anything beyond what is agreed. And I think that's basically it, because this whole thing about whether you have a free plan or a paid plan, if you get mired into their terms and conditions, right? Essentially, almost every company will tell you that, okay, whatever you are using, that data is ours. You don't have any claim on it, but their legal language would be such that you wouldn't understand. That's why those lawyers are paid big bucks, right?
yeah, of course, I agree with that. So, but still, like, if such a governance or regulations are not put in place, companies aren't they, even though they have their own ethical board in place, even though they have their own people to look at it, there can be loopholes that could cost a freelancer or any brands in millions, right? So their efforts and everything gone. And most of these AIs are even getting trained, I would say, without any consent from the designers. So the trust factor is also right. Like, it's more like people tell you your phone is really secure. But if you're going to talk about, let's say, purchasing shoe with it or with your friend or like around the phone, you're going to get all the shoe ads, even though you're not going to search about it. But still, we trust our phone, being it like, even in a secret meetings or whatever we have, or in a confidential, like, board meeting, people have the phone. So, okay. So it's more like, so the transparent part or even like ethical part is more like myth at the moment, the technology we are at. Because every device is listening and recording one way or the other, with or without our consent.
Yeah, I mean, so I think Rohit, you summed it up really well, because yes, it all boils down to being transparent and having the user consent. So yes, there are ethical implications of AI, and we as designers, we need to understand that the ethical implications of AI will be there, and we need to have that. So there should be the human intervention, so that we prioritize trust and transparency. Because I know that even LinkedIn does not support. There are so many automated tools for, I would say, email marketing and whatnot, lead generation, and hundreds of tools are there, paid tools, free, trial tools. But yeah, even LinkedIn doesn't support. But yes, now we should go forward and talk more about future of AI. How AI would be impacting UX, what is headed, I would say, in the next 5 to 10 years. Will people start missing that human touch, or is it something that AI will overtake smoothly?
So this question, let's say like everything goes as planned. We don't have a doomsday. So in 5 years, things are gonna be like, let's say like significantly transformed by AI completely on a very productive scale. So for potential looking into it, let's say like automation, there's going to be a huge increase in the automation of many routine design tasks, such as generating variations, testing prototypes, and optimizing layout. These things will be automated, freeing up designers to focus on higher level creative work rather than the rudimentary, robust task that they have to spend in hours and hours of work, which could be completely automated. And then major thing is that like AI will enable designers to create highly personalized experience tailored for individual users. Let's say like user preference and behavior. Right now, even Ria and Jaspreet was talking about Netflix and Spotify. They are doing a wonderful job. Think about how every app we use comes up with a personalized experience as per the user. So that's something we could look up to. Then the collaboration part, right? Like AI tools can establish collaboration that help us collaborate or handovers between designers and developers and other stakeholders, breaking down silos. People who work as a individual unit and improving the communication with them. So making sure everyone is connected so that there is no miscommunications or spillovers over a project of a huge, let's say like which is happening for years and years. Right? So, and of course, like AI becomes more integrated into design, which we could look into. There will be more growing emphasizes on the ethical consideration, right? Such as, let's say, biases or privacy and accessibility. These are the areas that we would be looking into. And another aspect I would be looking into is that AI can inspire, let's say, new design direction and help designers like explore unconventional approach to problem solving. So the more the designers are open to let AI and understand them, the more easier it is to get into the new spectrum and to explore it, right? So AI is undoubtedly change the design process, and I believe like human creativity and the judgment will remain the essential aspect of it, of making it just another application or just another design, or making it a really unique one. That's what it drills down to. And of course, like designers will need to improve new skills and adapt to the evolving landscape to ensure AI is used effectively and efficiently, and of course ethically, to create meaningful and impactful experience in the form of, let's say, digital experience. We're talking on digital experience right now, which also sums up not just the user interface but also the gesture, which doesn't have any screen, or let's say like voice interface. So these things also should be considered as a going forward ahead in like 5 years. So yeah, we are moving in a very quick pace, and designers are the one considered to be the know-it-all. If they are know-it-all, it's easier for them to work because they are collaborating with multiple people, and being that is going to give them an edge of discussing things and making sure it is aligned with everything. So I would say it's a responsibility of a designer to get to know everything of it, so that as per the project aligns with that perspective, they could deep dive into that and be a really knowledgeable person that they could share facts and lead the project. So that would be my take on that question, just Preet.
So I would say that I see two things that will happen for sure. One is that the boundaries of design and development are going to get blurred. And what will happen is, if you think about it, it is all about building digital experiences which are personalized for everybody. Okay, so you have context and you also have personalization. So as an example, let's say that Diwali is around the corner. And if I go to any app, Big Basket, Zapto, Blinkit, whatever, uh, the context is that Diwali is around the corner. So most likely things that are relevant for Diwali, those are the things that people would be searching the most. But the personalization aspect could be that, look, let's say if you are not in Delhi and you are allowed to burst crackers, right? Let's say that I favor a certain set of crackers, and let's assume that Blinkit and those folks deliver crackers, or I favor a certain kind of sweet, right? Then the thing is, one, the context part is that Diwali is around the corner, which is a universal thing for everybody, right? In India. But for me, I like certain things. So when I go and experience these apps, the way I do discovery, that will have to be very personalized to me. And I think that in 5 years' time, AI's solutions wouldn't just be limited to, oh, I designed the interface and here are so many different variations of it. There is no reason why that same concept can't actually also be implemented. Because if you think about it, what do you need? You need all the data that is behind the scenes. And from a backend standpoint, also, there is a lot of stuff that is happening in the world of AI, right? So there is no reason why this front end digital interface couldn't have a cousin behind the scenes, which is able to look at that entire stack and deliver that entire experience. So instead of us sharing Figma files, why can't we have a situation where you actually have a completely entire digital experience with the entire front end built, which is uh, production ready? And who knows, why not even deploy that to production, right? So that's one, so that the boundaries will blur. The other thing is, I also think that the designers in the traditional sense will go away. I don't think you will have people designing these layouts anymore and doing the wireframes and the prototypes and all of that, right? I don't think that will remain, because if you think about it, what is it? From a process standpoint, we all know that here is a design process. We do the wireframes first, we do this first, we do that first, right? The moment you are able to articulate something, and that articulation is, here is the context, and based on the context, here is what you produce, there is no reason why that entire process can't be learned by AI and produce the entire sequence, right? So my point is that in terms of what the user experience is, call it user experience, call it customer experience, right? So I think, I don't know if I would call them designers, because there is, today we have these names of the roles based on how things have evolved, and there has been segmentation because not everybody can do everything, and right. But tomorrow, imagine this, that if you were to articulate a customer experience, that customer experience needs to be imagined by somebody. Okay. Maybe there will be a time when AI could even imagine that, but that experience has to be imagined by somebody. And once you have imagined it and you put it out as a story, then AI could take over and build all the different steps of it. And
So moving to the next segment. So one thing I've noticed, Prateek, is that a lot of young designers feel overwhelmed when they hear AI. We often think, is this going to replace our creativity, or do I need to be tech expert to use AI? So would you like to give any advice to the young designers?
Yep, let me be quick. So, like, I would say, like, you no need to be a techie person to understand AI. Just that we should have an open mind of learning it from scratch. Because right now people aren't ready to learn, because they have to spend some time, and they have to start small of understanding it. What is A's of AI? What is B's of AI? People aren't ready. So, like, it's more of like, if people aren't ready, at least they should be in a space where they could begin by experimenting with simple AIs and techniques to get a feel or understand what's possible, right? And learning the basic, such as like developing a solid understanding of AI concepts, like I told you earlier, like how the machine language works, machine learning works, or even neural networks, how the LLMs or like small language model or large language model works, how these things actually comprehend, or what sort of input it needs. Because at times there can be a syntax for it. It might not be technical at all. It might be like in the form of content. Let's say, like, first you put this, second you put this, third you put this. If you give these things in this order, it will give you the appropriate output. So understanding that, it doesn't require a technical standpoint to understand it, just a sequential information of getting fed, right? So, and also like collaborating with experts, like reaching out to experts or following them on LinkedIn, Instagram, or YouTube, to make sure that you align with what is getting new in place, and also like trying to understand what they really do, and also reaching out to them, like, I saw your post, so and so post, can you let me know, like, if I can find any resource for this to learn into this? Because there are technologies coming into place that we don't even able to comprehend at the moment, but there are experts who are could break it down and help us to learn and give us a path very quickly. Many would be open to help us if we just ask them. Just ask them. Or like a random post in Twitter, people are ready to answer them. Not cause like, they are like, that they want to reach out, but it's more like they want to spread the word, whatever they know. There are many people like that. Because I used to think if I message them, they wouldn't respond. But 9 out of 10 times, if I reach out to them, everyone responds. Yes, at times it might get delayed, but this openness is what is needed. And more of like, consider the ethical implications of your work, right? And strive to create a product and service that are inclusive and beneficial to all. So that is a direction that we can lead into. And almost, I would say, like stay curious and stay hungry is what, like keeping ourselves up to date, and with latest developments in AI, and explore new tools and techniques, because there is always a free tool that could help us. You don't really need to spend money to get things done, right? There are always free tools. Just free tools might be a roundabout direction to understand, but the path you are going to take, you will understand a lot of things to implement. And of course, there are like, if you are able to understand a little bit of coding or a little bit of how to deploy a tool inside your own machine, it could save a ton of money for sure. Because there are AIs in the GitHub open source that you can install in your systems locally, and you can use them for free. So, but yes, of course, the technical knowledge is needed, but this is not for all the tools. There are tools that are ready, just you have to click few buttons and it will install itself, and you can use them. So making sure that AI is just a tool. It's more like a pen, pencil. It's not the artist. It's a tool. So it is like, it could use to augment human creativity and judgment, but not replace them. So this is a very high, let's say, like thought that should get deep imprinted into our heads, because like people always say AI is going to replace my job. So, and there is a saying in the internet, throughout the internet, AI isn't going to replace you, but a person who understands and knows to use AI will. So, of course, so any revolution that comes in place has always created new jobs, has always replaced people. So that's the cycle we have always seen. Even looking into any revolution, that it's more like a cycle. People learn new skill, upgrade, and get into a new position. Old position gets replaced by this whole revolution. So that's what generally happens. And I would say don't be afraid to experiment. Be willing to try new things and take risks, because it's not going to cost much, or it's not going to, you don't have anything to lose by trying it, but you have everything to gain. You have everything to gain. I think that's the perspective I think young designers or enthusiasts who want to get into design want to understand. It's all about getting your hands dirty and just roll up your sleeve and do it. Nothing is difficult. That's what I feel. So, yeah, that's my take into that, Ria. Thank you for the question.
Wonderful. That was really great advice, Prithvi. So now we'll
Sure.
be ending our podcast. So thank you so much, Prithvi, once again,
Sure.
for the wonderful conversation on AI in UX design. Really insightful, really insightful. And it was really great listening to all the valuable experiences. And I'm sure there's a lot more to discuss on AI, especially on the gray areas of AI. So yeah,
Sure.
and I think I'll be ending it now. So that's a wrap on this episode of Design Dialogues. If you enjoyed today's discussion, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Stay tuned for more exciting episodes. And until next time, keep designing with purpose. Thank you so much, Prateev. Thank you, Rohit. Thank you, Ria.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jaspreet. Thank you,
Thank
Ria. And
you.
thank you, Rohit. Have a great day ahead. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.